Sorry.
All right, so when we look at the heart, we're looking at the left ventricle here, right ventricle here. This is where that conduit or tube is, and this is the valve that we're worried about has been abnormal. Okay. And so when we talk about the cath procedure, they're going to come up through the leg. Okay. And so catheter will be able to come up through the leg, which would come into this chamber here. And it doesn't look like it, but you'll come around like this. It's not that tight of an angle really, but they would be able to get their catheter across this valve here area. And so the way that the valve looks is that if this is their catheter, they take a valve that looks a little bit like this. It's on a stent, and then there's a valve inside the stent. Okay, and so it's kind of sewed in there. And so what they do is they scrunch the valve over the catheter, essentially. Okay? So they squish it down, and there's a balloon here. So they squish it down on top of a balloon. So they put this catheter across the valve, okay, which has a balloon, and then it's got the valve outside of the balloon. So they expand the balloon, and they squish the valve against the edge of the existing valve. Okay. And I think I may have told you about this before, but I think of it like the Russian doll things where you have one inside the other, and that's what happens now. So you put in a valve, so it's not really a valve replacement. The old valve stays right where it is, and now you've just to put a new one inside the old one. You've kind of plastered these leaflets against the side, and so you've relieved any narrowing and also relieved any leakage because now you have a well-functioning valve. Okay, so does that help you a little bit understand kind of what this looks like?
Yes.
And so mostly, it's a challenge of kind of getting in the vessels through the legs and then getting safely up there. So in patients who've had her type of surgery before, they're usually set up a little bit better than patients who just had like a regular tetralogy valve and don't have an existing valve in that position. So that's what this would look like.
Okay.
Now, how long would I heal for 24 hours?
Right, so most of the healing would be with the left side and the leg, okay, and so it's a bigger, usually a cath has an incision about this big. This cath incision will be a little bit bigger because these catheters have to be bigger to take the valve. And so usually it's about 3 days, 72 hours of taking it easy.
Okay.
And then 24 hours in the hospital?
Yeah, overnight in the hospital usually, you have to watch and make sure it goes. I think that the biggest risk of the procedure is just if they kind of get in there and either can't get the valve to be in a good position, or they aren't able to relieve narrowing that much, or things end up a little narrowing. But these particular scenarios, things usually go pretty well.
Okay.
Okay.